Like, do I ever do what?
Do you like go around and mess with people's heads?
Not with the voice. I mess with people's heads because it's fun. But I don't do a lot of voice trickery with my voice, unless it's like, wandering around in the dark and say something creepy. Monica Rial, I know, will mess with telemarketers when they call her. She'll pretend that she's a little girl, because she sounds like one anyway. Like, they'll ask her if her mommy's on. Like, no, I'm here by myself. I haven't seen mommy in 3 days. Stuff like that to freak them out, and they're in the line. I'm here with Grandpa. He's in the tub. He's not saying anything. It's horrible stuff. Because Monica's evil.
That's why she's.
Mm-hmm.
So you've never, like, ordered McDonald's as Master Yoshi?
I haven't. I know, I think Tatum, I used to joke about Tatum ordering drive-thru as Inaru. I don't know if he's done it or not. But yes, large fry. But I haven't. So, no. I know some voice actors that have decided upon entering a restaurant or where they're out shopping, like, okay, the entire time that I'm here, I'm going to be from Australia, and they try to do that, or I'm going to try, pull off an English accent the entire time that I'm here. I don't do that because I want to just relax and not put so much effort into having my lunch. I just want to eat. Anyone? Yes. Some of the most fulfilling parts of each of my jobs. For voice acting, it's very fulfilling to pull off a nice performance despite the fact that the original animation and performance was done in another language. If you can make it look and sound like it was intended to be in English from the beginning, like everything fits perfectly and sounds great and it fits the content, that's a very cool feeling. Rather than like forcing something out, like, well, we have to say it this way because this must happen on this line, because then everyone goes, oh, so we have to squeeze out this information in this line. So if you can make it sound like that was the way it was supposed to be delivered to begin with, like it was drawn that way just for you, that's great. That's a very fulfilling feeling. As a director, it's fun to get that out of someone. It's very fulfilling to get really honest, great performances out of people. Because of those same challenges. It wasn't written in English to begin with. So being able to pull it off where it sounds authentic and genuine and like it was made to be in English to begin with is really cool. As a producer, I think the mix process is probably the most rewarding aspect of that job. When we go through and decide what it's going to sound like, how much out front is the dialogue going to be? Are we going to spread it out from the center channel to the left and right? Are we even going to use the rear channels for dialogue if someone's coming up from behind or something? How much are we going to use the subwoofer low frequency track for explosions? Or are we going to do a Batman and have a subwoofer track when someone talks, which is kind of weird? Or when a plane flies over, how much of an aspect shift are we going to have? Like start over here and come to the center channel and leave over there and have it thunder by with a subwoofer track. Like figuring out all those sorts of things are super fun to me. Writing, really the only fulfilling thing is pushing send when it's done. Like, oh, finished it. Oh, good. Oh, that's nice. I'm going to go to the spa. Because it's that's very tedious work and it's solo work. I like it because I like having scripts that I work with, and knowing that everything's going to fit and flow well, especially on a show that I'm directing. What I don't like about it is it's a solo gig. I like being around other people. I like working with other actors and working with other engineers and producers and directors and having conversations and FaceTime. Writing is me and a laptop and a video monitor all night, by myself, or with my dog going, "What are you doing? Pet me." sending that off is the most, as a complete, is the most fulfilling aspect of that job. A couple more questions, and then I will sign all the things. Yes!
Have you played any of the video games you worked with?
Yes, I'm not a big gamer because it takes up a lot of time. That used to be my main drive to buy a game. Is like the longer it would take to finish it, the more of a of an investment worth my money it is. But now it's completely reverse of that. Now I want to play things like Street Fighter X Tekken, where I can play it for 5 minutes and then cut it off. And not play it like, oh my god, the sun's coming up. I never want that feeling ever again on a game. Ever. Because that means that that next day after the sun came up, that same day, that day's going to suck. But yeah, anything where I have like a decent sized roll-in, or it was a lot of fun to record. Like my roll-in Borderlands 2 is not very big, but that was so much fun. And every time I hear, I would hear a clip in the, this game's coming out here, the game trailers, I'm like, that sounds awesome. I picked that one up. And I haven't done it yet, but I want to pick up that The Walking Dead Survival Instinct game, because I'm in that one too. I play a couple of different roles, and I think that it's so neat that I got to be in it with Norman Reedus and some of the stars of the show, because I'm a super big geeky fan of that show. I'm like, yay, I'm in it. So even if I'm like, oh, I have one line, that was me! I'm in The Walking Dead, holy crap!
For people who want to become like directors, would you give them any advice? Like, how did you start out?
There's not really a one pathway to do it. Any of these jobs, like Kyle was up here earlier, Kyle's path was different than mine. Kyle was a radio DJ, and that was his voice experience. For directing, some of the directors that I've worked with are actually engineers that used to sit in this chair. And from sitting in that chair over and over for years and years and years, they got used to how that job worked, and they had an opportunity to become a director. So they know the technical aspect of it, and they know how to communicate with actors because they heard someone else do it for several years. I took directing courses in college for theatrical directing, for stage direction. And I also am part of a improv sketch comedy troupe called Section 8. We've played in Los Angeles, and we've won some awards and done some other stuff. And with that group of people, whenever someone has a sketch idea, you were the director of that. So, I had years and years of working on that. So experience is the best teacher, and then if you can find some sort of scholastic way to train, I would highly suggest that. If you're like, well, I want to direct voices, learn to direct actors, learn to direct them on stage, learn to direct in any capacity. Yes.
Are there any animes you want to work on, either voice actor or director?
All of them. Well, I don't watch what's coming straight out of Japan anymore. I mean, I did that for a very brief period of time. But what I found is, I have enough to work on currently with what's in front of me, where I would need more hours in the day to investigate what could be coming down the pipe. B, which is the important thing, I don't want to get my heart set on something when there's only this much of a possibility that I'll get to work on it. I've done a lot of work with Funimation, and I've directed with a couple of other companies here and there as well. And Funimation is super kind to me as far as what I get to work on. If I really want to work on something and I have enough advance notice about it, I'm like, please let me squeeze in this, like Eden of the East, for instance. I knew that was coming down the pipe. I'm like, please let me work on this show. I think it's awesome. I want to work on Eden of the East. And I'm like, okay, well, you have this, and this, and this. If you finish this much Alchemist by then, you can do it. Sweet. Now I know. I have 6 weeks to make that happen. Yeah, I don't want to get my heart set on something and then have it not happen. But as far as just general broad things to work on, I would love to work on a Miyazaki film at some point. I'm super stoked that I got to work on a Hosoda film, and I would love to keep working on all of Hosoda's films because I think they're beautiful. I wish Satoshi Kon was still with us because I would love to work on anything that he did because he's a genius. I still like, especially because Eden of the East and a fan of the Standalone Complex, I would love to work on anything Kenji Kamiyama does too. So I think he's brilliant. He's a cool guy. Cool guy as well. dresses awesome.